You're a monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Knows what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Midnight Monster. Shit, Corey. You found it perfect. You did it so well.
I was like, oh, God. You're going to break.
Damn it. Wow, that wrote me. That was good. Like,
I'm sorry.
You found it so perfect.
Oh, that was awesome.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Frosty, and alongside me, as always, is Corey Pete.
What's up?
And last but certainly not least, Tony Arroyo. What's up, man?
What's going on, homies?
So, welcome back, guys. We are back at it with another episode, a Roulette episode, which, for you listeners out there and people watching on YouTube, this is where we each watch our own string of movies, and we each bring like a matinee to the table to dive into and discuss. And we'll bring up some honorable mentions that, some other movies that we watched and that are worth noting. And we'll either give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. So, but yeah, how you guys been? Been busy watching some creature features?
Hey, absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of sad that the creature feature month's coming to an end because I have really enjoyed like just finding some really obscure movies, even some of those old monster movies. I might try to watch a few more before we jump into our next themed month. But so what kind of stuff we've been getting into this week?
Well, I mean, besides, like, just movie-wise, what we've been watching, or life in general. It's, work, sleep, eat.
Pete.
Watching
Work,
movies.
Sleep, eat, watch movies, repeat.
Mm.
There he is.
I'll say I've been, something I've noticed this month, and I don't know if that's just because I really like creature features, but I've really taken the time to make more time for movies this month. And in fact, like I actually had kind of a hard time deciding what I wanted to talk about tonight, just because we had so many, or at least I've had so many movies that I've watched. So, and I'm sure that like the next 3 months is going to be probably even more difficult because there's going to be so many movies that we're going to dive into.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this episode by now, we've finally got the 1982 The Thing up. That was an awesome episode to record. We did have some audio issues. We've been all busy trying to get it fixed. I know Corey's been working like a dog trying to get it up. Finally got it up today as we're recording. So, we definitely want to hear some feedback from you guys on that one. I feel like that's going to be one of those movies we will revisit in the future, just because, there's so much to talk about with that one. It's so fun, such a fun film. In fact, once we watched the movie and recorded, I was trying to find reasons to watch that movie again. It's a fun one. It's a good one. It's a classic. So, it's one of those movies you can just sit down and, no matter how many times you watch it, it's always good. So
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, the rewatchability for that film is just
It's
amazing. Yeah, it's honestly one that I can genuinely say that I watch every year. It's up there. I've got a handful of those films. I try and watch a bunch of stuff throughout the year, but that's one that I always pop in along with a handful of others.
Yeah, I watch it a couple times a year normally. Like I said, it's in my top 10, so it's one of those films you can always go back to, revisit, and still many times as you see something that you never noticed before. Like I said, the movie's so deep. There's a lot of things to catch, that you can catch, and it just makes the rewatchability that much stronger, considering the fact, hey, it is a classic as well. It's a
Yeah.
Carpenter, so
Hmm.
you can't go wrong.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I always had a list of movies I'd try to watch every year, and they weren't necessarily all horror. Like I always tried to watch the Rocky collection every year. I did that for years, which is at this point, every time I go visit Dad, my mom and Dad, if Dad's watching TV, he's watching one or two movies because they're always on. Shawshank Redemption and Rocky. Like AMC channel loves those movies, and my dad loves Rocky, and so he'll sit down and he'll watch those movies. Like it doesn't matter. It's like me with Back to the Future. If it's on, I'm sitting down to watch it.
Hmm.
And so I'd watch those. I'd watch the Back to the Future every year. The Lethal Weapons was another one I really enjoyed watching every year. And I think after a while, like my cycle of movies would rotate. And once I've watched those enough to where I can just quote them verbatim, I I got to a point where I was like, I really need a new cycle of movies. And that'd be an interesting topic in itself. Like over the years, what movies you cycled in and out.
Hmm.
I know when I was younger, I definitely Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I watched that movie a lot. Ninja Turtles movie. I had like this group of movies that I'd watch every year. And so at this point in my life, like I'm getting to where I have so many movies, I can't really afford to sit down and watch a movie multiple times.
Yeah.
But there might be a few. Like I'm catching myself watching. I watch Rumble in the Bronx probably at least once a year.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
I don't know. I love that movie. It takes me back to simpler times, and martial arts movies were king. Jackie Chan was
Hmm.
he was the king on the scene at the time.
Yeah.
But
Well,
It's
I find
nostalgic.
that's what I was going to hit on, is nostalgia. I find myself, especially with my boys, when I have them over, me
Oh,
and
yeah.
them will watch. It's really cool. It's really a surreal thing when you watch movies you watched when you were younger with your kids, and then you
right,
see how they kind of take them, and what they think. And I got lucky to where a lot of the stuff. Matter of fact, I had my boys Sunday, and we sat down, and Jonathan wanted to watch, my oldest son wanted to watch the Ninja Turtles movies with me. I said, all right, let's do it, bud. So we sat down and watched the first one, and then we watched the second one, because you don't really need to watch the third one. Let's be honest.
Mm-mm.
It's But yeah, the first two are just so much fun, and the kids absolutely love them. And they're like, Dad, these movies are great. They're awesome. I said, yeah, buddy. I grew up on this stuff. Like, this is stuff I was watching when I was your age. So, this it's really cool having that experience with your kids and
Mm.
going back. Matter of fact, before Monday, we sat down and watched a movie from my childhood called Little Giants, this movie I absolutely adore. Watched it multiple times as a kid, and then watched it with the boys, and they were like, oh wow, this is really funny. These kids are really funny. And I was like, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's a fun little family film, and
Oh, Rick Moranis,
yeah,
the
any
the
Rick
good
Moranis,
one of the good guys,
absolutely.
quit acting to support his kids because his wife passed away. Was it from cancer?
Cancer, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, he's just a good dude.
Yeah, he is. He's dipping his toes back into it a little bit now, from what I understand. Like, he's appearing
Hmm.
and stuff now, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. What if he makes his comeback and just starts doing horror movies? That'd be awesome.
So, well, that seems to be, that seems to be. I was just talking to my mom about it today, actually. She's like, well, what's up with these older actors, like, going into horror and doing some horror stuff? I'm like, she's like, Nicolas Cage, he's doing a lot of horror stuff now. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, man. Horror's really hot right now, so I guess these guys feel like, to stay relevant, they got to dip into the genre a little bit and start doing stuff.
Hmm.
We've talked at length about these comedians and these funny people in the industry, like, gravitating toward horror. Like, Chris Rock's in a new Saw movie. John Krasinski from The Office is directing another Quiet Place. Like, and
Hmm.
Jordan Peele's, you know, knocking out horror movies left and right. So a lot of these
Yeah.
funny guys in Hollywood and stuff are gravitating toward horror. I don't know. It's like a common thing now. A lot of them are trending that way. Danny McBride writing the new Halloween. So it's commonplace now, and I see a lot more
Really?
people. I never thought Chris Rock would be in a Saw film. That kind of surprised me. So
I hear that movie is really bad.
I just heard it was pretty
Like,
bad.
Yeah.
when GameSpot gives it a 3, I'm like, ee. And then I was talking to a guy on Twitter, through our Twitter, Monster_Corner. We were chit-chatting about Spiral. And I was like, yeah, I want to see the movie because I like Saw, but I was like, I hear it's bad. Got GameSpot give it a 3. And he responded, he was like, a 3 is generous.
Damn.
Whoa, savage.
That's not good. I know, believe it or not, Samuel L. Jackson's in that too, which surprised me. He is. I did not. He is. I didn't see that. And he plays, from what I understand, he plays Chris Rock's dad, which is mind blowing. They're only I believe they're only like a couple years apart in age. So I don't know if they went through and aged him or anything. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I'm reserving my judgment. But I've not heard good things, so it's kind of underwhelming from what I hear. But
Yeah.
no, who knows? I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really speak on the matter much. But
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I don't know that I would. I don't really have a drive to watch it.
I mean,
Is that
same.
bad to say? I mean, like,
No,
I don't
I mean,
know.
to be honest with you, I'm not the hugest fan of the series in general. I love the first one. It was great. I mean, it's of course it's a
Well,
staple.
Anything past 3, just
Yeah,
I didn't really care to watch. I've got them in my collection. I
Same
don't
here.
watch them.
same here. I think
Yeah.
the third one's my next favorite. The third one's great, especially the operation. Oh man, that's holy shit.
When they started franchising it, I was kind of like, because the first one was more psychological, and then they had like that crazy cool ending,
Mhm.
and then they started, and I'm not, I don't mind gore. I think gore is awesome, especially when it's like, I'm not a big fan of like, and I hate the term torture porn.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a big fan of that. I never saw the Hostels. I don't really have a desire to see Hostel. Just because I don't, that stuff doesn't appeal to me. But with that being said, like there are certain movies I will watch, but I feel like the psychological part of the first Saw is what made it so great. Kind of like the who's the killer, why is he doing this, the mystery behind it, and then once you franchise it and you just like let's see how gory we can get, then it's like you kind of ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just throw buckets of blood on actors and throw guts up there and expect us to like it. Like you gotta have substance, you gotta have story, and
That's something
yeah.
driving force too. So
And I think, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure I found out from either by the second film, I think it came out that they had signed on right when they did the first film. They had already signed a contract to make all the films, so I already knew how many films there was going to be. And I don't know, I didn't care to see them. Like I said, after about the third one, it got a little bit old for me.
Yeah.
The second one did it for me. I love the second one. I mean,
Second-
I'm not a fan of needles by no means, and that scene where he throws her into that pit of needles, it's like, oh, she has to dig around, and they're just going into her hands and her arms. Oh,
I think the coolest thing about the franchise is they had this gimmick where, and I wish they would do this today. Well, I don't know if they really can do this today unless theaters actually go back full swing and that makes more of an impact like it used to. But I love the fact that they used the gimmick to where they would release like a new Saw film around Halloween every year. I wish another franchise would do that to where Halloween there'd be a new film in the franchise coming to theaters. I love that, man. I really dug that. I enjoyed the because I mean it seemed like every year around Halloween you'd see the trailer come out for a new Saw when it was all the rage and it was like, oh man, there's a new one coming out, and it's like I love stuff like that, man, because stuff like that should be released around Halloween,
Like Stab.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We greatly appreciate that. If you're listening on YouTube, that's awesome. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Just copy, paste the link, if you know some friends who like horror movies or just movies in general, send the link their way. If you listen on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you guys rock. But don't forget to like, share, subscribe there as well, and leave us a review. It would help push the show. If you want to follow us, there's a number of ways you can do that. Facebook.com, go to the search bar, type in the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. It is a closed group. Ask nicely, we'll let you in. You have Twitter, as mentioned before, Monster_Corner, TikTok at Midnight Monster 20. I think that's it. For housekeeping. Also, we do have an email if you want to email the show. It is, I know we don't really usually promote the email, but it's midnightmonstercorner@gmail.com, right? Yeah. So if you want to remain anonymous and shoot us an email, that'd be awesome too. Any number of ways you can contact us, be a part of the discussion, questions, community questions. And remember, every third week of the month, we do what we call Listener's Choice, where we have listeners provide us with suggestions on each themed month of what we should watch, and we do a drawing, and it also enters you in for a chance to win prizes. Now, those prizes can range from different stuff, usually movies. We might go in and get you a nice collector's edition or something if you're good to us. So, but yeah, that's housekeeping. We cannot stress this enough that we appreciate everything that you guys do, and for taking the time to listen to us and watch us, and be a part of the discussion. So, but enough small talk. We go to our roulette episode. Who wants to go first? And we never have an order for these things. I'm just gonna build a wheel and put it in the background and just start spinning it. I'll have our heads on it. That'd be awesome.
Hell yeah, dude.
Might have to get
Good way to do it.
Get Joshua Adams to help me make it.
Very presentable.
He could come out with some crazy ass design.
Absolutely. Amazing design, so
who wants to tell us about Creature Cabin?
If there was, that's the thing. If there was more creatures in it, because there's one, but it doesn't really have a lot of screen time. So it may be 5 minutes of screen time in total, if that. I don't even think that. But going into that movie, it's a newer film. Going into it, I thought it was a full-blown creature feature. So I was like, all right, cool, a more modern one, because I haven't, to be honest with you, going down my list of movies that I checked out, I didn't really do a lot of modern ones this time, and I was kind of surprised. Like, well,
I don't think I did either. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just one of those things where I didn't even notice it until we get sitting down and recording, and I'm like, well, shit, I don't think I have any past the 2000s, which is crazy. So,
Wow.
Yeah, believe it or not, just a lot of classic. Well, I wouldn't say classic. Well, in some regards, classic 80s creature features, and there's those 70s in there too. But well, I do have one from the 90s, so trying to branch out a little bit, at least 3 decades. But yeah, going into that one, I just thought there would be a lot more creature in Creature Cabin, also known as I think the other title is Tarnation, something like that.
They're both terrible titles.
Well,
let's just be honest.
Yeah, I think the only reason it's called Tarnation is because the town that they go to this cabin is in Tarnation. I'm not even. It's an Australian film, so it's somewhere in Australia, and the setting is.
I wonder if that's a real place.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
I don't know.
So the I guess I'll share the real quick the beginning of this story on you watching this film. Basically, I had contacted Tony, and I was telling him that originally I was going to do a film called The Barge People, but then I ended up changing my mind kind of last minute because I wanted to see a film that I had never seen before. So I hopped on Tubi, typed in creatures just to see what would pop up, and sure enough, this movie popped up, and I was like, cool, Creature Cabin, I'm gonna watch that, and yeah, I couldn't make it past 10 minutes. Like, it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
A real trooper.
So I ended up watching something else, and we'll get into that later.
Now, did you quit watching because you genuinely could not finish? Or was your wife sitting on the couch next to you giving you looks like, what the hell are we watching?
No, my wife had already gone to bed. She was tired, so I was like, I'm gonna sit up and watch something.
Not worth it.
For the roulette episode. Well, I hopped on. So funny story. I hopped on Letterboxd because after I got past the intro, I guess you would say, quote of the film.
Oh, God.
Tell us what that quote is, Corey.
Life is like a box of chocolates. Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you ever heard that one before?
I was like, yeah, there's got to be some amazing reviews on Letterboxd. I could not find this movie on Letterboxd to save my life, and I was like, oh, this is terrible. It's not even on here. It was on Tarnation. It was under the title Tarnation, but I didn't know that at the time, so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna watch something that grabs my attention just a little bit better. So I did. But
cover art was sick,
the
though.
the cover art's amazing, actually.
It's incredible. I love that painted artwork. It's magnificent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably, based upon your reaction to the film, I'm probably going to try and sit down and muscle through it.
Yeah, dude, I would recommend it just as an oddity. It's so strange and out there, and the humor is. I mean, there's moments where I was telling you guys I was laughing, and then there's moments right after where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I would literally go from laughing to saying what the fuck to laughing multiple times throughout the whole runtime. And like I said, it was entertaining. It was entertaining. I will give it that.
I'm going to check it out just based upon that. I'm not going to lie, though.
Daniel Armstrong, who brought us other movies such as Fight Like a Girl, 2015, Murder Drone, 2013, Nova Star, and Sheborg Massacre.
Believe it or not, I run into that movie all the time at Dollar Trees.
Sheborg Massacre?
Sheborg, yeah, and in which I'm going to be picking one up for Tony because he said he wants it. So
Please do, yeah.
You got to.
I literally pick it up every time, going, I don't know if it's even worth $1.
And you're probably right.
Man, the cover art alone is worth $1.
I mean, you know how many bad titles I've bought just based upon how shitty the movie looks. So
Yeah.
maybe I need to buy it. I do have Manborg in my collection, so
There you go. You got to pair the two. They look. I mean, they look like they go together.
hmm I bet you they don't.
They probably don't. That was an interesting film, though. Thank you, Corey, for even throwing the idea of that movie my way. So it gave me the kick in the ass to check it out, and I'm not complaining. I'm glad I did. So much fun.
I'm gonna be watching that one.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't mention it, but to the listeners, I don't know if anybody's gonna want to check this out, but when you hear the title, Creature Cabin, you would think it's going to be a creature feature, but no, to be honest with you guys, it's a lot more of a Evil Dead like homage movie. Like it definitely takes its inspiration from the Evil Dead franchise.
You can see that from the cover. The cabin looks just like the cabin from Evil Dead.
It really does, man. Looking at the cabin, I was like, man, that really totally looks like the cabin from Evil Dead.
The cover, the chick's got the knife and she's reaching out, and right above her you see the black unicorn.
Yeah, there's a black unicorn.
And it's reaching out with human hands.
That's the thing. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, you'll get a kick out of that.
Oh, yeah, please don't spoil this movie for me, Tony. I've waited my whole life to watch it.
I don't want to. Yeah, a lot of these jokes work with going in blind. They really do.
The reviews on Letterboxd are funny. This one
Yeah.
guy like said, "What is this movie?"
Yeah, that's the funny thing about the letterbox reviews with this movie is that they go from a lot of like 1 star, 2 star. There's some people giving it a 5 star, 4.5. Like they really thoroughly love the movie, and I'm like,
It's the
wow,
director's friends.
mixed. Yeah, it's so mixed, man.
Yeah. You see that a lot though. Letterbox, they'll give like a really bad movie, like a 5 star, and they'll be like best movie ever made. They're clearly being sarcastic.
Sarcastic, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I've done that too. I've already mentioned this a couple times, but for people out there that see my letterbox reviews, don't take them too seriously, because a lot of times when I review a movie on Letterbox, I review it purely as like an entertainment thing, especially with the shot on video stuff and the stuff that's lower budget indie. It's entertainment. Like, so if I'm entertained, if I'm on board, I'm gonna give it a higher rating. There's some movies technically that shouldn't be that high that I have rated high just because I was thoroughly entertained. But it's all subjective at the end of the day. Everything, ratings, reviews, everything's subjective. So
yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll go first. I'll knock mine out if you guys are cool with that.
Absolutely, man.
I wasn't gonna go first because I honestly had a hard time choosing what I wanted to review. Before I get to my honorable mentions, anyway, so I decided to do a movie called Forbidden World because somehow in this slew of creature films I watched, I've ended up watching a lot of alien movies, a lot of sci-fi alien movies, which I love. I love sci-fi movies. I love sci-fi horror and just alien movies in general. I think they're awesome. But I had so many movies that I watched. Like I watched Slithus, which we talked about before. Invaders from Mars, which was a Tobe Hooper film, which I thought was interesting. Like, the same man that brought us Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist brought us Invaders from Mars, which is a super mediocre film. And I don't mean to lay shit on it too bad, because there's a lot of affinity for this movie. Like a lot of people love it and they consider it a classic. And I was so disappointed when watching it. Even before I knew Tobe Hooper directed the movie, I jumped into it and I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Like some of the alien design was a little clunky, but pretty neat, I guess. They're considered Martians. You usually think Martians are smaller, but these are like these. I don't know, like they kind of reminded me of a Station from Bill and Ted, but hunched over on 2 legs with big mouths and big teeth, and I don't know, like the coolest parts of the movie for me when the military just raided the caves and started shooting the Martians.
I remember that part.
They got gunned down,
I remember that.
Other than that, the movie was just, the pacing was weird. It was kind of ridiculous. But overall, I guess I had fun with it. I mean, I gave it a 2.5 star, but but yeah, I don't know. I had so many. And I don't want to talk too much about my honorable mentions, I guess, before I jump into my matinee here. But yeah, I did do a movie called Forbidden World, 1982. It was directed by. Oh, I lost it. Sorry. Alan Holzman was the director. Now, this was actually a Roger Corman film. And, we talked about him. Was it last week we talked about him?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Humanoids from the Deep. That's right. And a lot of sleaze in this movie. So pretty much any Roger Corman film that you see, especially like around this time in the early 80s and all, was a lot of sleaze. And this movie was no different. There was scenes in this movie that just made me feel dirty. I was like, why are you putting this in here? Like, this doesn't even make sense to the continuity of the character. It's like, like you're putting it in there just to show nudity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's irritating. Like slasher films, it's kind of, they have a place. I understand, and people listening might disagree, but to me, I don't know. I was watching this movie while I was meal prepping for the week. I was in the kitchen. and I had the movie on, and there were so many parts of this movie where I was like, why, what? Like, the characters' choices were just, they were poor, especially when it came to the creature. It's like they always wanted to mess with this creature. Like they never, then like they would always want to get like face to face with this creature or get as close as possible with this creature or try to get to know it. And I'm like, this thing obviously wants to kill you. Like, get away from it. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I love about movies like like Alien, for instance. Like once they understand that these things aren't to be fucked with, they understand don't go near it.
Mm-hmm.
But Forbidden World was like, this thing's trying to kill us. I'm gonna go touch its face. like, no, quit. But so I don't know. The movie starts off this weird like Star Wars like scene where there's just the space battle for no reason. There's no description as to why. But this captain, he gets into space battle, blows up a few ships, then he goes and lands on a planet. I thought he landed on a spaceship. Apparently, it was a planet. It was a this like lab on this planet that was studying this what they called a what was it called? It was like this this genetic experiment that it was evolving, and they were something morph. It was not a necromorph. Oh my goodness. It's not xenomorph. That's alien. I can't remember the name of the damn thing. Maybe it's in my review. Anyway, I can't find it. Screw it. It's an alien. Okay, it's this organism that's like, I don't know. It's feeding on its surroundings and it's growing and it keeps getting bigger, and it's they discover it has intelligence, and so they do the thing where they are using animals to like experiment with it and like feed it and see what it'll do. And so like he gets on this lab and he walks into this room where they're doing experiments on this creature, and there's just dead rabbits and shit everywhere. Cats and rabbits, and like I don't know where you get all these in space, but they're there and they're just they're just dead, and there's shelves of them. And I found out from reading the trivia that those were real dead animals that they got from the local pound. They're
wow.
Like, hey. Yeah. So it's disgusting, but
hey, can you euthanize 50 cats real quick, please? Jesus Christ.
Well, I did that an hour ago.
God, I can't get away with shit like that now. My goodness.
No, they can't. No, they cannot.
To what they can do, what they can put in movies, to what they can put in movies now, it's very, very different. And that's just one example.
Yeah. And so, this movie was shot in 20 days. It was obviously an alien ripoff. Just capitalizing on, the whole science fiction, space horror. Like there's so many little there's so many little things like in the trivia that's just you read it and you're like, what? Like the screening of this movie, Roger Corman apparently had got mad at an audience member because he started laughing halfway through the film, and Roger Corman smacked the audience member in the back of the head. And then when they left the theater, the guy poured soda all over his head from a balcony. And the 6 minutes of footage that was removed from the film was the scene that the guy was laughing during. So Roger Corman's like, yeah, my movie won't be laughed at, and he removed this scene from the movie. The movie just starts off weird too. Like the guy's in cryogenic sleep. The guy who plays the main character, the captain, Mike Colby is his name. He's in cryogenic sleep, and he's having, I don't know if it's visions, but they're literally flashing scenes of the movie from like the end of the movie back, like these quick flashes. And so you kind of see scenes from the movie, including nude scenes, where like two of the ladies in the movie are just randomly nude, like
that's an easy chick Just getting it in there.
Oh yeah, it's just like boom, 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 boobies, boom, 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 and they're showing flashes from the movie, and I'm just like, are they really doing this? Like, and they did that a lot in the movie where they would flash, and like it's just friggin', I don't know. I felt like there was times during watching the movie I was gonna have a seizure.
Wow.
Like the okay, so he gets on this space, this lab, and they show him the organism or whatever, and he leaves to go have dinner. And one of the janitors, what does he do? Knowing this thing's dangerous, he's gonna touch it. So like he goes and he's like messing around with the little alien, I guess out of curiosity, and you know what they say about curiosity?
Yeah.
That it'll fucking kill you. No, that's not what they say. But still, like, so right off the bat, it's like of course they're setting it up where this thing's gonna escape. It's gonna kill everybody on board. But it's just kind of dumb how it happened, because it's like if any other scenario, you wouldn't just have a random janitor just walk up and be like, oh, I'm gonna mess with this dangerous alien specimen. Like, no, and you're gonna have it locked up better than what they had.
Mhm.
But so anyways, he locks eyes with the Dr. Barbara Glazier, I think is her name in the movie. They lock eyes, and so then ensues the the inserted 10-minute long sex scene between these two, where one of the crew members is creepily watching on cameras, like just pouring in sweat watching them. And they did that thing again where it's flashing. It's like flashing from them, flashing to him, and it's like real quick flashes. And I'm like, cool, what are you doing? So that happens. And then immediately after that scene, the dude runs into another one of the ladies on the ship. She's in a sauna, butt naked. And he walks up and he's like, hey, how's it going? And he's always like twice her age. And she's kind of creeped out at first. And then she's like, yeah, you can hang out here. That's cool. And then she walks over, kisses him, and then sits back down like they've just casually been married for 10 years. And it's like, what the hell was that? Like it was awkward. Like the sexual tension in the movie was just awkward.
Oh,
And yeah, and so it's kind of like they were like trying to build these connection between these characters, like to give him something to fight for when shit hits the fan, but you're also kind of grossed out.
So you're telling me that character development was kind of lacking in this, essentially.
A little bit. Like I couldn't jive with the main character because he creeped me out, And he didn't even like. It's not even have machismo, Like if you had like this macho buff dude who's like obviously gonna get all the ladies because he has this machismo, and he's like, he's not Arnold, he's not Stallone, he's fucking Jesse Pinkman. He's like a middle-aged dude that looks like they were just like, we need somebody to play the main character. You'll do.
You'll do.
And I don't.
But I'm in the lighting department. It'll work.
That's all right.
We'll make it work. I don't know. Like in the movie, they just made him out to be this badass, and he kind of wasn't. Like, to be honest. And so the alien gets out. He starts getting bigger and bigger, and he's killing everybody on board one by one. Now I will say the gore in the movie was pretty good. They had a lot of body horror in the movie. Like one of the characters actually gets bitten or infected by whatever it is that's on the creature. His body like just slowly decays until he becomes like a zombie / skeleton on the table, and he's kind of moving, but he kind of isn't. And the doctor's like doing experiments on him, and there's just like nasty goo everywhere. Like this movie was really gooey. Like there's even a scene later where when they finally kill the monster, they kill it using cancer, which was Roger Corman's idea. You find out one of the scientists has cancer, and so they have a scene where the main character, our hero Mike Colby, cuts his cancer out this dude's stomach while he's living. He's screaming, running in the alley. He's already gonna die. It's like, just kill the dude. Like he's waiting on one of the characters, Tracy, which is like the young dumb brunette who's like you know, I guess they couldn't use a blonde in this instance, so it's whatever. They got her. She's like the one that's kind of I would say kind of clueless, but at the same time, she screams at everything. One of those characters, it's like somebody walks by, she screams. Like they blink, she screams. A door opens, screams. Like she was such an aggravating character, and they're waiting on her to bring him morphine. So she's running through this hall trying to get to him to bring him morphine, and she finally gets to him and like injects him with morphine after he's uncut the cancer out of his stomach, and then they look down and he's died. And I'm like, what? You could have just killed the dude and saved yourself a lot of trouble. So they get this cancer out, and they somehow feed it to the creature, and the creature dies. And then, lo and behold, more goo. He starts throwing up this nasty goo stuff, which, according to the trivia, was actually this like chemical they used that was really highly toxic and like was would burn your skin real easily. Because movies.
Yeah, dude. That time.
So I don't know. The creature itself, like I couldn't even jive with the way it looked either, because. Imagine, yeah, I mean, when it was like in its small form, it was okay, I guess, because it was like, what it was is it kept making cocoons. Like it'd make a cocoon, and it'd bust out of that, and once it grew a little bit more, it'd make another cocoon. And the cocoon-looking thing was cool because it was like this big, fleshy-looking patch with like these stringed arms that would like attach itself to its surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's one part where they're actually on the island, when they go outside into the world, movie called Forbidden World, and it only shows the actual planet like maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's expected.
Yeah, they go outside of this the lab, and they see the cocoon up on the mountain, and they start shooting at it, and it falls, and they're like, oh no, there's nothing in there, where it's already hatched, and it's gotten bigger, and now it's this big grotesque piranha plant looking creature. Like you can imagine taking like the plant from Little Shop of Horrors, painting them black, and then throwing a trash bag over them. Like that's what you get. And I mean, it was just really awkward looking. The creature you see on the front cover.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that creature, like completely fucking opposite.
Yeah. I get that, because a lot of times, you don't get what the cover's gonna sell you. Like,
No.
So it totally makes a lot of sense. But I like that with creatures. I didn't see a lot of those, but I like when the creature has different forms and he kind of progressively grows into what he eventually becomes, usually at the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
So I like that, and I love when creatures do that. I like when they kind of add that little piece to it. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Different stages.
Yeah. That's like his first stage was this little, like, I don't know what they did. It's almost like they just got black tar and like putty and just threw it on this guy's face because it had no discernible features. And like it jumped on this guy's face, and so that was its first form. After it jumped on this guy's face and infected him, no chest bursting or anything, but it was like he went from hugging his face to getting to a bigger creature, and I was just like, really? But so I mean, it was entertaining. It was weird. Now I will say it was shot well. Like the set I think was really what I liked the most about the movie, other than some of the gore. And I find out that James Cameron himself actually helped build the set,
That's cool.
and it looks fantastic. So mad props to him. James Cameron he's a legend. So, and I always loved the work he did. And so I mean that's the camera work sometimes was a bit annoying, but it's still shot well. You could tell this movie was meant to be taken seriously. Roger Corman apparently wanted this movie to be taken very seriously, otherwise he wouldn't have assaulted an audience member for laughing at it. But is what it is. It's Roger Corman. There's sleaze, there's gore. It was for Creature Feature. It was fun. I gave it 3 stars.
Okay.
So it's worth checking out. It's on Tubi, so it's free.
So I have not to check it out.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to do too many things in the movie too. Like there was even a robot like sidekick that was like the main character, Mike Colby. He's such a badass. He's got a robot sidekick, man. And this thing, like, I don't know, like you think it'd have more of a role in the movie because it was there in the beginning, it helped them fight off these ships in space, and it was kind of there. And then like once shit started hitting the fan, it was like it tried to be a help, and they wouldn't let it. Like it walks up to the professor, and is like, "Hey, why don't we try this?" The professor's like, "Shut up, bloop," and I just turns it off. I'm like, well, that robot could save your life, man. So, yeah, I mean, check it out. It's definitely interesting watch. So
That's one I haven't seen in so long, man. I need to go back and revisit it because, like I said, it's been years since I've seen that.
yeah,
Well,
so definitely. But that's me for this week's roulette. I guess we'll do all our honorable mentions at the end.
yeah.
Okay. So Forbidden World, 1982. Yeah.
Corey, if you want me to go, man, I'll go.
It's either you or me.
Yeah,
Which
I'll
one?
go, man. I'll knock mine out. So the feature I decided to go for on our that episode was um one that I haven't seen in a couple of years, so I kind of Arrow put out a really nice edition of this, and for years fans have been clamoring and wanting this to come out on Blu-ray. And there was even a April Fool's joke that Criterion, from what I hear, Criterion put out that hey, this was gonna get a release, and fans. It was supposed to be a joke, but fans really took to it, and they were like, "Finally, yes, finally, it's gonna happen," and this is that, and
Oh no.
yeah, a lot of their hearts were broken when Criterion was like, "Well, this was just intended to be an April Fool's joke. This wasn't serious at all." But the movie I'm going to discuss is 1984's Chud.
Chud.
I don't have I have my Blu-ray here with me, right here that Arrow finally released, and it's magnificent. It's really, really fantastic presentation.
I almost bought that on the sale.
It's incredible, man. I would highly suggest you do because it comes with two different cuts. It's got the theatrical cut and it's got the integral cut, which is the one I went with, which is a little bit more. The scenes with gore, they linger on those scenes a little bit longer. So it's really cool. There's I love movies. This was shot, in and around New York, and I just love movies that have that gritty 80s New York. Like, I love that, man. That's some of my favorite stuff in cinema when they're able to capture the sleaze of New York City. And this is the movie where you watch it and you feel like you got to take a shower after you watch it because everything's so dirty. I guess let me get into the plot. So basically we follow our main character, George Cooper, who is a photographer, and he is on an assignment, basically taking pictures of the homeless people in New York City. So he's on assignment. He's got just moved into a new apartment. And his living girlfriend is a model. So he's the photographer, she's the model. So they kind of they have their own thing going on where they get on separate assignments and stuff like that. But this is like a passion project of his. He wants to capture the homeless in New York and kind of paint a better picture for them as what the public sees them as, like derelicts and people that are filthy and stuff like that. He kind of wants to glamorize it a little bit. It's really personal to him. He's got a deadline with one of his editors, and he keeps pushing it off. He's like, well, the pictures aren't right. I have to get the pictures right. I have to get them perfect. And so we follow his character. Really, we follow three main characters. So there's missing people in this small section of New York, and the cops are baffled. They can't seem to figure out what's going on. We follow another one of our characters, Captain Bosch, who's the police captain. In the beginning of the movie, there's a lady walking down the street with a dog, walking a dog, and something comes out of a manhole, grabs the lady, and drags it down into the sewer. And it's like, okay, well, we're in. Like this is the start of something that's really going to be special. And
That's just a New Yorker.
that's
Where's
really
my $20?
it starts off with, I think, one of the most underrated scores of all time. I love the film score. It reminds me of something that you would get playing like a Super Nintendo game almost. It's kind of got that sound. It's really cool, man. I dig it. I love it. It's really underrated. I don't think it gets enough love. Well, apparently a lot of other people like it too because it has been released on vinyl, which was a hot seller. So yeah, I think it's sold out if I'm not mistaken. But basically we follow Captain Bosch and George Cooper and another character played by, of all people, Daniel Stern, Marv from Home Alone, which the crazy thing about this movie is there's a lot of Home Alone actors in this movie. You'd be surprised. Like George Cooper's played by John Hurd, which is, Kevin McAllister's dad in Home Alone. You got, yeah, he passed away a couple of years ago. Daniel Stern, Marv from Home Alone. Christopher Curry plays Captain Bosch. He is the police captain in Home Alone 3. So there's a lot of Home Alone stuff. It's weird, man. It's weird.
Why the hell did you take your shoes off? Why the hell you dressed like a chicken?
So just thinking about it, it's crazy. Did you actually see Kevin's dad and Marv in scenes together? It's mind blowing. But yeah, Daniel Stern's character is A.J. Shepard, also known as the Reverend. Excuse me. He plays he runs a soup kitchen for the local homeless people, and he's calling Captain Bosch saying, "Hey, listen, a lot of my undergrounders are disappearing left and right, and they're not coming up for meals. We don't know what's going on. We're trying to figure out what's the deal." So Christopher Curry goes there. He's under the impression that he's going to get a little bit more information about what's going on. But Daniel Stern's character is completely put off by this because he's like, why would you be coming down here really, really hounding me trying to figure out what's going on if it was just a couple homeless people? There's something else going on that you're not telling me. He's, yeah, there's people missing across New York and we're really dumbfounded on what's going on. He's like, something's still not jiving. There's more to it than that. So eventually he gets out of him that it's a little bit more personal to him why he's down there looking for any leads to figure out what's going on with the missing people in New York City. But we find out that there's a government conspiracy or government cover-up to where they're dumping, and a spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen Chud, please go out and watch it. I highly recommend it. But we find out that the government is dumping the toxic waste from all the different factories and companies underneath New York City, underneath the subways. So basically what it's doing is it's infecting the people that live, the homeless people that live underground, and it's turning them into chuds, which is basically cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, that's the acronym for it. But yeah, the creature designed for the chuds, I have to say, first and foremost, is fucking awesome. They look cool. They really do. They're kind of rubbery, when they come out. It's cool when they come out of the sewers and stuff like that. They kind of grab, the street and stuff like that. And you can see the rubbery prosthetics and stuff on them. It's really, it adds a little charm to it. But the cool thing about them is they're humanoid. So, they have the body of humans, but they have like these huge, like yellow glowing eyes, and they bleed green because of the toxic waste that's infecting them. It's almost like a zombie in a way, to where people are getting infected through bites and various attacks and stuff like that too. Well, we don't see that too often, but we do see one character actually transforming into a chud, not on screen, but you see his character is going to turn into a chud.
John Goodman's in this movie?
John Goodman. I was going to say John Goodman, which is really cool. It's one of the things I wished we had more John Goodman because it's really just a short little cameo.
Mm.
But this is one of the first films he's ever done. So that's, I mean, he's a great actor. I love John Goodman. Anything he's in, he sells it for me because he's a fantastic actor. But yeah, he's in it. He's awesome. Hit that little scene because he's really funny in it, in his little cameo. And you're like, damn, dude, I just wish there was more John Goodman in this, man. He would be another character that you would just gravitate toward and just enjoy watching him do just about anything, really. Uh, but the characters that we do get, the three main characters, they have great chemistry. Especially Daniel Stern. He gets a lot. He has a lot to do in this film, and his chemistry, especially with Captain Bosch, because a lot of the film you spend with them, they just play off each other well. They're great together. And really, the selling thing with this movie is it to most people it would come off like, oh, this is a creature feature, mindless, monsters and whatnot. But there's a lot of like commentary in this about, government conspiracies and them hiding stuff from the public and, stuff that's hush hush that you're not really supposed to talk about. Because Captain Bosch at one point tells his police captain, he's like, or his the commissioner, matter of fact, he calls him up and says, hey, I can't keep this bottled up anymore. The public has to know about what's going on in New York. Like, you guys can't hide this from the public, and they have to be informed on what's going on because this is dangerous. There's a lot of people like disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
So like they do. Eventually, you get the bad guy, the guy that's in charge, covering everything up. He's a dick. You hate him. Like you just want this guy to die, just because he's such a pompous asshole. He has no care in the world for anybody but himself and covering up his mistakes that he's made. So, you get that character, of course, you have to have that. Um, I don't know, man. Every time I watch this film, it's just so dirty and grimy. They get underneath the subways or the sewers in New York, and everything's so desolate and just dirty. There's trash. There's, rats and just it's gross, man. You feel like you got to take a shower after watching it sometimes. And and then by the time, you see the characters and stuff like that, they're absolutely filthy. They're like completely dirty, like just crawling around and doing stuff in the sewers. And it couldn't have been fun filming scenes like that. I can pretty much guarantee that was probably a miserable experience doing stuff like that. But you couldn't tell with their performances, man. These were just professional actors, delivering great performances. I love Daniel Stern in this. He was great. He was funny. He was witty. He was charismatic. He really cared about his undergrounders, as he called them. There's even a scene where they're starting to go underground to kind of explore and see what's going on. And there's food left out. And Captain Bosch is like, hey, what's going on with this? And he's like, oh, that's for the shy ones, the ones that don't like to come up and be around people and stuff like that. Like, he has a big heart. He cares. These are his. Bosch keeps making fun of him, calling them his congregation because he's the reverend. So he keeps giving him shit about that. But their banter back and forth was great. I can't say enough about them. John Hurd is very witty. He's a guy that he has like this. There's a scene where he's taking pictures. He's doing his girlfriend, Lauren Daniels, played by Kim Reese, I think is her last name. Yeah. And then he goes into a banter about, it's a perfume ad, and she has to get naked and wear like some fur, some like animal furs and stuff. And he's just going off on a tangent about how this is so stupid. The perfume smell. He's just going off, and the people that hire him are there listening to him the whole time. But he just doesn't care. He's very aloof and just goes with the flow. He's real chill, and he's definitely an interesting character. There's a social commentary going on too about pregnancy and abortion, and there's some stuff that seeps in with that, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't expect that out of this 80s creature feature, them talking about that. So it's kind of interesting that they went that route and were, even bringing that up at all in the film. So I enjoy this film. I love it. I watch it, sporadically, but really, I feel like I need to watch this more and give it more love because it really is a film that, regardless of whether or not you feel like you got to take a shower after watching it, just because it's so grimy and disgusting, you really enjoy the characters and the creatures are really cool. The Chuds can do they do cool things where there's one Chud in particular where you learn a lot through what they can do just from him because he's attacking somebody in an apartment and his neck kind of extends so they can kind of extend their appendages and you don't see that but once, so you're like, okay, you're adding to what these characters can do and what they're, or not characters, what these creatures can do and what they're capable of. Of course, they bleed green because they're infected with the toxic waste. When you kill them, their eyes stop glowing, which is pretty cool. But I think my favorite scene in the whole film is when they finally get down there to discover their lair, where all the toxic waste is and stuff like that. The Chuds are around this giant vat of toxic waste is spilled out everywhere, and they're almost like it's almost like they're bowing down, praying to it and worshiping it. It's really strange, but it's a really cool scene because you get all the Chuds together and they just look so cool. Because you don't really see them a lot throughout the movie. It's one of those instances where less is more. The less you show them, the cooler they are, the more impact they have. So you don't see a ton throughout the film, but I think the attacks and stuff are spread out throughout to make it enjoyable. One of the knocks that people have on Chud is that it's too long. The film runs a little bit too long, and some people, they find it boring in some scenes, and I could see that. I could understand where they're coming from. To me, it doesn't play out that way because I like the characters, and there's a lot of intrigue going on. There's a lot of mystery, them trying to figure out what's happening, them going through and setting up a meeting with all the big wigs, trying to figure out, hey, what's going on underneath the streets, because they have these, I think they call it an EA probe that goes on where they sweep the sewers once or twice a year. And Daniel Stern's character is like, listen, man, they usually do it for a small extended period of time. They've been down there for months now, so something's going on. You can't pull the wool over my eyes. I know something's happening down there. So if we need to get a hold of city council, the guys that are dumping the waste, whoever, we got to get a hold of them and figure out what's happening because there's a threat against the city. So you get a lot of that. You get, there's a lot more intrigue with characters and stuff like that than you would get in a typical creature feature. But I love it. I enjoy the hell out of it. And it's one of those, and I wanted to bring up the fact that it's one of those films that you don't hear about too often, but it's got a massive cult following.
Yeah.
Because Chud's been parodied in so many different things in pop culture. Like The Simpsons have parodied it, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Clerks 2, Archer, Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk's Underground actually had a playable Chud character that you can pick. It's crazy. It's crazy how many
That's
times
pretty cool.
have been parodied, in pop culture. It's mind blowing, and that's just a couple of instances. There's so many more. But it's one of those films that when I was watching Us, the new Jordan Peele movie, you had a Chud VHS in one of the scenes there was a Chud VHS on top of the VCR. That's pretty cool. Jordan Peele throwing some love Chuds away. It's one of those films that you don't hear a lot of people talk about or bring up very often, but it's got a massive cult following. So it's kind of weird how that works out, but I love it. I enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
The runtime I could see being an issue. Depending on the mood I'm in when I'm watching it, it could be an issue for me. But this time watching it, it wasn't an issue for me. I enjoyed it. I was thoroughly invested in the characters and wanted to see them, bring down this corrupt asshole that plagued the film. And he would do so many just evil things and just smile and enjoy the hell out of it. And you're just like, man, you just want to see this guy get his comeuppance in the end. But I gave Chud 4 stars on Letterboxd. It's a film I thoroughly enjoy, and I'm glad I went with it on the episode. I'm glad I decided to stick to it.
Thank you.
This one. I thought about changing it, going something a little bit more obscure, but I'm like, more people need to check out Chud, so I'll throw some love its way,
Yeah.
and hopefully, if I can get just a couple people like, hey, this sounds interesting, let me check it out.
Yeah.
So
When I watched it, I was thoroughly disappointed, but then I realized I watched a movie called Chode, and that was not a pleasant experience. So if you're looking for Chud, make sure you spell it right.
which the cool thing is, it's got 2 different meanings: cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers, and then it's contamination, hazard, urban disposal. So it's got 2 different meanings.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We talked about this too when we did our movie night a while back when we watched The Descent. Those were technically Chuds. Because we were like, what are they? Are they zombies? Are they vampires? Are they just aliens? And then we found out they were pretty much Chuds because weren't they like humans that got trapped down there and just like adapted to the environment?
Yeah, they were just left.
The one thing missing is the glowing eyes and the toxic waste.
Yep.
There was a scene though in The Descent where they did have glowing eyes.
Oh yeah.
In one of the scenes, so it's probably paid homage there.
It could have, yeah, definitely. Who knows? There could have been bats of toxic waste down there that the government's hiding. Who knows?
They didn't go that far down.
Didn't go that far, but it's always good to be a little subtle when you're doing a homage. So. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah,
that could be added to the large list of pop culture that have thrown some love Chud's way.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching Chud. I think my first time watching Chud, I was with you, Tony, and it's a fun film to revisit.
It is. It's a fun little movie. You definitely see the cult following where the cult following came from, and why people were clamoring for this movie for the longest time to get a Blu-ray release. And the gore, I didn't mention the gore, but the gore's really cool. There's a scene where there's a chunk missing it because it really fucking cool. It looks really realistic. Not bad for the time. Not bad at all.
Yeah. Good old practical effects.
This movie definitely used them. Utilized them very well.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you, Tony. Is it my turn?
It's all you, brother.
All right. So I had a tough time deciding what I was gonna do this episode on. There's so many good films that I wanted to do. So many creature films that I've seen over the years. And again, I'm a huge creature fan. I love creature features, and so it was kind of tough. But then I was gonna do a film called Barge People. But I ended up I wanted to do it, but then I was like, you know what? I want to do something I've never seen before. And so I popped on Tubi and this film popped up. So I was gonna do Creature Cabin, and that's where I turned it on to you, but I just couldn't make it through. And then I'm kind of glad I didn't because, like you said, it has nothing to really do with creatures, so it kind of works out. So I jumped on this other movie that's on Tubi. So if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out because it is. I thoroughly had fun with this film. But it's a film called Don't Fuck in the Woods. So it's a film that came out in 2016, so it's relatively newer. I believe. I don't know if there's a sequel out just yet or if he's in the works of making one. I'm pretty sure I've seen something about the sequel though, so don't quote me, but it might be out by now. I haven't looked that far into it. But I will probably look to see if there is a sequel out. Yeah, right away, the characters. So the story follows, I guess you would say mainly the creature through the woods. It tends to get attracted by people having sex in the woods or doing sexual acts in the woods.
Doing the sex.
So in your opening scene, you follow these two characters who are camping, and later on, you find out that their friends are supposed to meet up with them, but they're in the woods a couple days prior to their friends coming into the woods to camp with them. Um, they they get a little attracted to one another, and next thing you know, they start having some fun. And and that's when this creature attacks. He likes to attack while people are having fun, apparently. Um, yeah, so right away you're introduced to gore, sex, and nudity pretty fast. And it just repeats itself throughout the whole film. Um, Later on, you follow the friends. You kind of meet them. There's a lesbian couple that joke around with this stoner character, which I had a lot of fun with. The stoner character was probably by far my favorite character. He runs a like a movie rental place or something, and he's just all the time smoking pot and saying some really stupid stuff. And there's one scene where they make their way to the woods, and upon them looking for their friends, they're carrying he's carrying a cooler with the other guy, and he just drops the cooler at one point, gives the other guy the finger, and walks off. Like I said, his character that character was just so fun. Um, there's one scene where um, everyone's starting to go off and have sex and stuff, and so like so they're it's a couple, they're with them, they go off and have sex, and then there's one girl that gets passed out drunk, and she's carried into her tent, and then the lesbian couple are there with him, and they start playing truth or dare. And that's hilarious. That they're messing with him. He's thinking that he's going to get some action. The whole time he's trying to get action with these two lesbian chicks. It's hilarious. But they end up messing with him, and he's like, I think we should take this party to the tent. And then next thing you know, he's as he's following them to the tent, and they're making out the whole way there. He takes off his shirt, and they stop him right there at the entrance of the tent, and they were like, "Yeah, this is where it ends for you." He actually goes back to like the campfire and sits down, and the quote that I wrote down was, he looks at his hand and he goes, "Well, Jill, looks like you and I are gonna fight tonight."
Jesus.
Snarky character. He's always got one-liners, and
Yeah,
he is a fun character though.
he really was. He was a trip. I found myself laughing so much with that character. Um, but yeah, with the other couple, there was this one guy that um what was it? They were swimming at like some pond or something. This like forest ranger, I don't really know what he was, but he rolls up on them and he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" They were like, "Oh, we're camping. We're looking for our friends." And then he was like, "Oh, okay, well, be safe." And he drives off. And the next thing you know, he goes over to the other side of the pond and he starts looking at one chick and fantasizing about her and starts rubbing one out like right there. Next thing you know, right before he climaxes, you just see blood spatter all over the tree where the creature fucks him up. And this creature was pretty cool looking too. I mean, I don't, it definitely was low budget, um, very low budget. But the creature design, I couldn't get over the face. The face of the creature just looked very like hokey to me. Um, but overall, the whole, it was like a full body suit, and it looked pretty cool actually. There was one scene where he was basically ripping into the guts of a girl, and you could see like the whole suit just kind of fold over. I was like, oh, it's a wardrobe flaw right there. That's terrible.
So I'm looking at a screenshot of the creature now, Corey. If the creature from my film had a baby, this would be it.
You tied the two together.
And kind of funny story, Daniel, where you were talking about the goo from your creature. There's
Yeah.
one scene where he kills he's killing the stoner guy, and he's ripping out the guy's guts, and then at one point he just like starts spewing all this green goo on this guy, and I was like, is he just throwing up or what? I didn't understand that. It really wasn't explained. Um, Overall, I had a blast with this film, though. I'm trying, I'm looking at. Oh, there is one scene where, so towards the end of the film, I didn't want to go too much into it because if you haven't seen this, it is a wild ride. So I don't want to ruin it for anyone. But there's one scene where he goes to, I don't know, he becomes like a hero or something, tries to save the day, and he kicks the creature in the balls, but the creature doesn't like flinch, and he's like, Jane, he has nards.
Monster Squad reference.
Yeah, but and the thing about it is like I don't know why this creature like. So the depiction of the creature is that he goes after people that are having sex in the woods, stuff like that, right? But for some reason, he killed two characters that never even masturbated in the woods or anything. Like he just full-fledged killed them, and it's like, why? Because it doesn't depict that he goes after people like that, or at least that's my intentions of going into this film, was that he didn't do that. So there was some flaws in the storyline and in the creatures, I guess you would say, character motives. Um, I would kind of want to know more about the creature though, like why is he doing this? Where did he come from? Stuff like that.
Something a sequel can do. Just kind of shed some more light on it.
Maybe as I was kind of lost and kind of
A
wondering.
sequel.
But overall, I rate a film based upon other things, as far as gore, stuff like that. The acting was okay. It wasn't the greatest. There was a lot of funny scenes. So I had a fun time following the characters. The movie itself wasn't long at all. I think
So
it was
short.
I think it was like an hour and 15 minutes, but it even felt shorter than that because I was having so much fun with the characters. Now that's what it was the characters made this film for me. And there was other things like I noticed that the director himself had an eye for cinematography because there was actually some pretty decent shots in the film. Especially, I'm sure you have issues, filming in woods at night, and a lot of shots were at night in the woods. Um, Even like there's one scene where your survivor girl's going after the creature to fight him off, and she lights up a flare. And I would imagine that being a low budget film, that would probably have to be really hard to film around, given the light and the smoke and everything else off the flare. But it was actually pretty well done. She kept spinning around and stuff, and I thought that was going to create a lot of smoke, and they weren't going to get a good shot, but they were actually getting really good shots with her doing that. Um, she kind of outsmarted the creature towards the end of the film, and initially like lit up an arrow and shot it to him, and he blew up massively. Body parts, like flaming body parts, went every fucking where.
He blew up massively.
Yeah.
Possibly.
But there was some really cool scenes like where in particular it doesn't want to seem like he wanted to let people climax. He didn't want them to finish because
Yeah.
there would be like a guy behind a chick, and the next thing you know, the chick would get snatched out of the tent real fast or something. And there was even he actually ripped off the balls of a guy, and that magically killed the guy. So yeah.
What do you mean magically?
Yeah, you wouldn't think that somebody would die instantly from getting their balls ripped off, but yeah, this guy did.
I mean,
They bleed out.
But I mean,
if you
there was
rip
like,
my balls off, I'm just offing myself.
but I mean, there was even some scenes where where like what was it? He was Oh gosh, he was the stoner guy went to go walk past a chick or whatever, and he was like, oh, such a shame. She had nice boobs. Stuff like that.
God
Snarky.
almighty.
Really
Yeah.
snarky.
There is
Very.
a sequel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's.
I don't know if it's done
It's
yet.
just completed. It's just completed.
It is okay. Just wasn't sure. I don't know how you can see it or what. I don't.
Yeah.
Just
I
idea
don't
if
know
you
if
can
it's. I don't
it
know
or
if
what.
it's on Tubi or not. But yeah, based upon what I liked about the film, it had a good concept. I loved the characters. It actually had a pretty cool score because there was a lot of metal music throughout the film. I noticed that with a lot of lower budget films, you seem to have a lot of metal music and stuff, and I love metal music, so it kind of worked for me. Um, the kills would be very fast paced, and when that's the thing when the killings started happening, especially with these friends, these group of friends that were camping, I mean, shit started going fast when that happened.
Hmm.
And then, like I said, the creature design wasn't the greatest, but it worked. I did notice a flaw. So, with all that being said, and even the makeup as far as the special effects, the blood and stuff, I did notice that when he was like pulling intestines out and he was like, it seemed like he was chewing on them, it looked like gauze wrapped up in fake blood. Like that's what it looked like. So
Same.
it wasn't the greatest, uh, but overall I gave it 3 stars. And it would be a higher 3 star for me because I would watch it again because it was actually pretty fun. But yeah,
Right. Okay. Nice, dude.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
IMDb has it at a 2.7.
I think I think the thing that works for that movie in particular is the runtime. If it was a little bit longer, it would probably drag on too much and it wouldn't feel because I mean it's a lot of one note, you get a kill here, get a kill there. It's a lot of repetitive stuff going on. So if it was longer, it would probably feel like more of a chore. But the
hmm
fact that it's so short actually I think benefits the film and I think it works in its favor. So
yeah.
Did you read any trivia on the movie?
No, I didn't.
So the final creature costume cost $180 to make.
$180? Damn.
$180.
Oh,
Production was shut down after a hornet's nest was disturbed and sent one actor to the hospital.
Damn.
Several
indie film.
cast members were stung by a swarm of yellow jackets while shooting. Brittany Blanton, one of the blondes, got poison ivy twice during filming.
Okay, so funny that you mentioned that. I did notice in one of the scenes there was like a guy that fell down in some like poison oak. So I did notice that because, living in the South, I've seen
Yeah.
poison oak. I know what that looks like,
Mm,
and I was like, oh man, that must have hurt if he was allergic to that.
Oh yeah,
That's funny.
damn.
that's not pleasant.
The final night scenes were filmed on the September 30th, which also happened to fall on a rare black moon, where there's a second new moon in 1 month. What? What?
Man, don't you just love random trivia? Like,
Sean Burkett has been, this is back when I guess when he was filming. Sean Burkett has been celibate for almost a year in order to finish Don't Fuck in the Woods.
it's dedication.
Wow.
Dedication to his craft.
Jesus. It's called, yeah, Don't Fuck in the Woods. Don't fuck at all.
Yeah.
Sean, you can fuck elsewhere. I can? Yes. Will the creature kill me then?
He was part about the creature.
The creature's not real, Sean.
He was gonna
It's a man in a costume. Really?
tell you. That's some dedication.
Wow,
Jesus.
that's pretty funny right there. But yeah, that was a fun film.
You said it's on Tubi? I think I remember
Yeah.
seeing it on Tubi, and I read the title, and I was like, "Hey, babe, let's watch this." And she goes, "No," and I laughed, and that was the last time I even humored it. Now I have to watch it. Damn it. Also, I was gonna make a joke about one of the characters looking like Joey Moss from Bad Boy Gaming, but I think only me and you would get it.
One of my favorite parts is where you when you're first introduced to the stoner guy. I don't know his name, the character. That was the bad thing. Like they didn't name much of the characters. They were just there, you know. So I know one of the characters' name. Well, the lesbian couple was Alex and Jane, and then the first couple, I think the one guy's name was Luke or something. But they didn't really go into names too much in the film. But yeah, the first scene that you see of the stoner guy is he's asleep dreaming about the two lesbian couple and how he's a plumber, and he like knocks on their door.
Yeah.
He knocks on their door and he's like, it almost looks like he's like a bad ripoff between Luigi and I would say Ron Jeremy. He walks in and he's got like this weird accent and he's like, I'm here to fix your pipes. And they were like, oh, we don't have any money. Can we pay you some other way? And he, like I said, he's dreaming this and he climbs in bed with them. And then he wakes up.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
It could have just been the guy that got to play Mario from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show who looked like a knockoff Ron Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Now, the banter in the movie store was pretty funny because they were talking about scream queens, and this woman was like, well, good scream queens don't need to show their boobs. You know, good scream queen is just that they work, you know, to become scream queens and stuff like that. And then and the guy's like, yeah, but they still show their tits, you know, and stuff like that. And then she was like, Barbara Crampton, you know, who else does she mention?
Linnea Quigley, I think.
Linnea Quigley, and yeah, and then a customer just walks in and he's just like, yeah, they've all shown their tits at some point in time in the movie. It's hilarious.
Oh, she don't know. She don't know.
Argument is invalid.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a blast.
Fun stuff, man. It's a good little indie. Indie.
Yeah. So now we move on to our honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
These were the movies that they were just extra movies that we watched per our theme, and you know, this is something that maybe the community can get involved with. You know, when we do a themed month, you know, see how many like when we do like a creature feature month, see how many creature features you can watch that month, and you know, give us some reviews of them, what you thought. You know, share the group what you watched. Any new ones, you know, that you recommend, shoot them our way. We're always up for suggestions. But I'm going down. This is just from Letterboxd that I reviewed, which I think should be all the ones I watched this month. But going backwards, I watched. I did finally watch Pumpkinhead. I was telling Corey that I thought I had watched that movie a long time ago, but I don't think I ever did watch that movie.
Wow.
So I finally got a chance to sit down and watch it at his house, and it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
I will say it wasn't as wasn't quite as like gory as I thought it was going to be. You know, I thought it was going to be a lot more gorier. The creature was absolutely fantastic. Like,
Yeah,
we're judging.
It's amazing looking. Like, that's one of my favorite creature designs ever, dude. Pumpkinhead
Yeah.
looks. Matter of fact, I have a Pumpkinhead figure. I love his design, dude. It's amazing. Stan Winston designed it, so I mean,
Yeah.
he's a legend, and he directed it. This is his only film he ever directed,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
And I was looking through some reviews, and there's a lot of people that were kind of disappointed in the movie because like they had heard so much about it, so they overhyped it. So when they watched it, they were like, "Oh, I expected more." And I'm like, "Well, it's a solid movie. It's a good movie. Like the premise is very simple, you know, sort of a reverse revenge movie based off of a curse, you know." And the whole moral could be, you know, revenge isn't the answer, or revenge isn't going to bring your son back, and in the end, it just leaves you, you know, sad and to the point where it kills you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, great movie. If you're judging a movie a creature feature on the creature alone,
Oh,
this movie gets 11 out of 10. You know, like it's just Pumpkinhead. Like you said, he's such a cool freaking creature.
amazing.
And the fact that like he can, he can move fast, he can climb real fast. He's kind of comes out of nowhere, and he'll grab you. And if he gets his hands on you, you're done.
Mhm.
The articulation and every on Pumpkinhead is just magnificent. I think they killed it with that.
Yeah.
And I will say too, creepiest witch of all time.
Yeah.
That witch, terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Sure.
yeah. Not like the witches off of Hocus Pocus.
No,
Oh,
She was
that's a
yeah.
witch.
Yeah.
I don't want
Definitely.
to piss off our Hocus Pocus fans out there, but that's how you do a witch, dude.
hmm
Most definitely.
Unsettling as hell. Ugh.
So I did watch Ghoulies 1 and 2. Um I was so hyped for the second one. Like I powered through the first one to get to the second one because all I'd heard was, "Oh, Ghoulies 2 is so much better."
So much better.
And I watch it and I'm like, it's better, but not that much better.
It's a lot better than the first one, though, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I think it's setting the characters like the Ghoulies. They do a lot. Do a lot more. You get a lot
They
more
were
Ghoulies.
focused on the Ghoulies in this one.
And I
Like,
think
hands down.
that's where the first one kind of dropped the ball. I think
Yeah.
they've done that more.
But
Maybe
then
more.
again, they kind of go overboard with it, like how
That's true.
everyone coming into the carnival thought they were just this attraction.
Yeah.
And so they always made it a point to like stop and, tell everybody, "Oh, come see these little creatures. Oh, they're so funny. They're so great." Little did they know that they're actually killing off people one by one. And then you had the scene at the end where the one ghoulie eats the others and he gets real big,
Yeah.
So there was some fun moments of it. I gave it a 3-star. I think I gave the first one like a 1.5 because the first one was kind of like super slow and boring.
It
But
is.
there was a couple characters in the movie though that was fun, at the beginning. Like when the movie kicked off and they started spitting out these ridiculous lines, I was like, "Oh man, this movie's gonna be wild." And then they slowed them down, like they really stifled the characters a lot in the first one. I think if they would have just let go and had more like ridiculous over the top one-liners and all, I think the first one would have been way better. But it took itself too seriously, which is where it failed, And I think that's most definitely why Gremlins, Ghoulies being a Gremlins ripoff, I feel like Gremlins just destroys it because not only do you have Joe Dante directing it, but you also have, he didn't take the movie too seriously. Like he was scary when he needed to be, he was funny when it needed to be. It just it was so many things. It blended well. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good word. But yeah. So I don't know. One day I'll probably sit down and rewatch 2 because I was kind of like multitasking as I was watching it, and I was like, wow. There's a couple of parts there where I just kind of made me scratch my head, like.
You talking about it just makes me want to watch it now. Like I love the second one. I really.
Yeah, I want to go back and definitely rewatch it. But Humanoids of the Deep, which we did a review on, which that was a fun one. Invaders from Mars, I talked a little bit about that. I did do Mothra, 1961, because I got that nice Blu-ray steelbook from Walmart, which is really good. This was a fun one, to go back and watch. How they there were so many like hokey little special effects that they used, or practical effects rather. Like how there's a scene where little tanks are like shooting up at Mothra. And
I was going to say if they use miniatures in that.
They just use like little dolls, and it's blatantly obvious they use dolls. But they didn't care,
Yeah.
This movie came out. Like I kind of wanted to watch the commentary because there's a lot of interesting historical facts within the movie about like that at the time Japan and the United States were kind of like competing on like the movie front a little bit. and they were, Japan was putting out movies like at an astronomical rate, like way more than the United States was, and Mothra was one of those, and that's where we had gotten movies like Mothra, Godzilla, and all this other cool stuff, and I'm sure there was a ton of other movies too, but they were making a lot of movies. So, and this was kind of lumped in with all that, but yeah, I mean, it was a fun movie. The characters, something that really surprised me is like I watched it really wanting to get, like, waiting for Mothra to come on scene and like do its thing, but like you end up really falling in love with the characters. Like there's one of the little journalist characters in the movie. His nickname is Bulldog, and he's a fun character. He's just like a real try-hard reporter, wants to get the story, wants to get the scoop, and he's also kind of like the comic relief of the movie, like he's just a funny guy. And like there's one scene where they try to, like, these goons come and they try to threaten him and push him around, and he ends up beating the shit out of them. He's like, they don't call me Bulldog for nothing. But it is a fun movie. So it was fun to revisit that because I hadn't seen that movie in a long time. I watched Spawn of the Slithus, or Slithus, which looking back, I don't think a 1.5 star would be. I don't know. I might need to change that because looking back, I really enjoyed the movie more than I let on. But it was, in retrospect, it is kind of a bad movie, but
I will admit that.
It's fun. It is a fun movie.
I enjoyed a lot of it, but I can't say it's a good movie.
No, not by any means. So, we watched The Relic, of course. Now I did have a chance to sit down and watch Alien, which was one of the movies I was gonna talk about. If not, I feel like a movie like that should be saved for like when we do like a sci-fi alien month or something.
Sure,
I did have the chance to sit down and actually watch that with my wife, which was her first time watching. And man, it's great to revisit that movie. So it's there's nothing I can really say to justify the movie. I mean, it's just one of those, like, if you haven't watched it, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't watched it, what the hell's wrong with you? Go watch Alien.
Stop listening. Go watch it.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
Oh man, I think this was pre-creature feature, but I did watch The Void, which is not really a creature feature. Well, I guess it could be. I don't know. That was a weird one. But
it's definitely got cool creatures in it.
It does.
It does.
I think I'm getting into like.
There's a lot in that movie.
Yeah. But yeah, that was me for creature features. I did get in my Arrow copy of Tremors. I was going to watch it, and I almost was going to cover that one, since it's like one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite creature features. But I feel like we should save that one for like a special episode.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I would definitely love to do that one, a special episode.
That would be a fun one to do.
I was gonna ask you about how special features, all that fun jazz on the Arrow Blu-ray, how that was, and
I haven't even put it in yet, to be honest.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I'm really curious about that transfer, the special feature, all of that stuff.
Also have the stuff.
Yeah, man.
So,
yeah,
I'm excited about that one. Now I was reading the back of Tremors, and it's pretty funny because there's one part I was kind of skimming through the description or whatever, reading through, and there's a part where it says they're in the goddamn ground. I was like, that's so cool, just really, really paying homage to the characters of the movie. It's great.
Yeah, I'm psyched that Kevin Bacon still wants to do another one. That's so.
Oh yeah, where the hell has he been?
I know. I guess doing that commercial it kind of rekindled his love for the movie and kind of made him want to do another one.
Not to spoil anything, but if he does it, he's gonna be doing it alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
hmm
Yeah.
But I'm down. It's been a long time since I'm surprised it's taken him this long. Like
Honestly,
he's mentioned in like every movie.
Yeah.
Like every Tremors installment, they always find ways to mention those characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he is sorely missing in the franchise. I would be really, really thrilled to see him in a new one.
hmm
Hold on to the hope that it happens.
We shall see.
Yeah. Well, I guess I can go. My honorable mentions. Being that I watched Chud, I kind of wanted something that 80s crime, not Creature so but better film to grab than Basket Case. Yes, this movie right here.
Ooh.
I love Frank Headliner.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Davis is one of my favorite movies ever. So anytime I can sit down and watch a Frank Headliner film, I'm going to do it. But this movie has perfect grimy New York 80s sleaze, man. It's got it. It's got a cool creature. You can kind of see him right there. Wow, he's a conjoined twin of our main character Dwayne, and basically it's a basic revenge tale. They were separated at birth. Well, not at birth. They were separated, um, forcefully separated. Let's just say that. So Bilal was kind of tossed away and not considered a person or a human because he's just a lump of flesh to everybody else, but he actually is a character. He actually has character. So um, basically, Dwayne and Bilal go to New York and hunt down the doctors that separated them. And of course, Bilal has to be in the basket so no one questions, what he's doing with this lump of flesh, this creature. So they hide him away in a basket. And he walks around. The only question is, what's in the basket? What's in the basket? Everyone's always asking, what's in the basket? So, that's always going on. They get their revenge. We learn that Belial is extremely jealous of his brother. So anytime Dwayne separates himself to try to do his own thing or go off and have his own adventure or whatever, Belial gets super jealous. He throws a tantrum. It's so funny because there's a point in the film where he throws a tantrum and it's like a stop motion a sequence and it's brilliant. I think it's awesome.
I love stop motion.
No, dude, stop motion in this film is phenomenal. It looks so cool. He basically just trashes a hotel room and it's hilarious. Just thinking about it now, it makes me laugh. But Basket Case is a classic, dude. I couldn't recommend that enough for anybody that hasn't checked it out. Please go check it out. You will have a good time. The kills are great. It's really gory. It kind of surprises you how gory it is sometimes when you watch it. Like, oh shit, that's a lot gorier than I even remember. But it's just, there's so much heart in this film. Like, from the filmmaker standpoint, you can tell Frank Headliner put his heart and soul into this project. It's real close, and like the crew and stuff are really close. A lot of the extras were probably family members. It was a real labor of love, and you can kind of tell. It's just a fun. There's characters here that are absolutely hilarious that make me laugh. All around, it's just a fun time. Everything that's going on is so much fun. So I couldn't recommend Basket Case enough. I gave it a 4.5 star. It's a great creature feature. Um, so another one I went with, a neat little. It's really a meta horror film. Even before meta horror films really found their footing with Scream coming out, and this was years prior to Scream coming. It's a movie called "There's Nothing Out There," and you kind of see the creature a little bit right there. It's really interesting what they were able to do with the creature design in this one. But basically, it's a normal setup. School's out. There's college kids going to a house or not a cabin, but it's a house in the woods. They just random creature shows up and starts picking them off one by one. But there's a character in here which is really, really cool. There's a character in here that we're going to keep this theme going. We always bring up Randy. He predates Randy. He's a horror fan. He knows it all. He's telling everybody, hey, you shouldn't do this. This is how you get killed in a horror film. You shouldn't do this. This is how you get killed in a horror film. And they keep having to tell him.
Right.
It's not this is real life. This isn't a horror film. So it's a joke playing on itself in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a hilarious scene where they pull up to the house and they're unpacking, they're getting stuff in the house and everything like that. This random van of punks comes in, just pulls up. There's a watering hole by the house, so this random van pulls up. These punks come out. It's like 6 or 7 of them. They all decide, hey, let's go skinny dipping. So they all get naked and jump in the water and start messing around. And it's completely random. It came out of nowhere. And even the guy, our Randy character is like pointing it out. He's like, he pulls his friend aside. He's like, hey, man, you see what's going on down there? He's like, what the hell, man? He's like, those guys shouldn't be on our property. He's like, you know what that is, right? That's he's like, that's numbers. Like that's numbers for a horror film. And it's a body count. And he's like, he's like, they need to go. So he's telling them, hey, you guys need to scram, go away. And they're like, oh, okay, dude. One of the punks is like, all right, man, cool. We're out of here. And they just drive off and leave. And it's just like, what the fuck? Dude, it's fun. It's a really meta film. There's a scene in the very beginning of the film that takes place in a video store. Really, really cool. You see a lot of really cool tapes on the shelves and everything like that. Really, God, it makes me miss video stores. Every time I watch it, I'm like, damn, I wish they were still around. But yeah, it's a fun film, man. It's a 90s gem, I'd say. Like it doesn't get talked about enough. I know Vinegar Syndrome just put out a Blu-ray, so it's getting a lot more love now. For the longest time, I didn't know about it either. It was actually recommended to me on one of these websites I was on. So I checked it out, and I was like, wow, that was really, really fun. I did not expect a lot out of it being a 90s horror film. We talk a lot about how, in the 90s, the horror films kind of dipped in quality. So finding those little hidden gems out there is really rewarding. So I think I gave it a 4.5 stars as well. Thoroughly enjoyed it from beginning to end. Had a blast with it. Of course, we talked about, Slit this already. I did watch that. Oh man, this is just such a fun film. It's a good film to watch with buddies and drink some beer and just cut up and have a good time. Creature design looked really hokey, but at the same time, really fun.
It's like a Ninja Turtle on meth. You can say it.
Ninja Turtle on meth for sure. Characters. There's one character in particular in this film he's just out there completely, and everything that comes out of his mouth is just gold. And I think you know the guy I'm talking about.
Yes.
What's his name? Christopher Columbus? Something like that.
Yeah, Christopher Columbus Alexander or something.
Alexander, yeah, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's hilarious, but it reminds me a lot of Humanoids too, in a way. Kind of has that feel, the underwater, creature coming out and feet like attacking people on the mainland and stuff like that. It kind of has that same kind of setup going on, but it's just so fun, so hokey. The characters are a trip. You follow this one guy. He's kind of a stock guy, your stock main character or whatever. He doesn't have a ton of personality, but the people that are around him kind of elevate his performance and make it a lot more fun. So
yeah,
that's a good one. I gave Slit this 3 stars. It's enjoyable. It's a fun film, especially when you got friends and beer. It's a good time. Another one I watched was, like I said, guys, I went a little ham on this one because I didn't bring a lot to the table on our last one, so I felt like I had to redeem myself a little bit. But I watched The Being, which Yeah. This is an oddity, man. Uh, it's got Martin Landau in it, of all people. Like, it's just, you wouldn't expect him, especially at that point in his career, to be in a film like this. But the same director of Blood Diner, I know Daniel, big fan of that one.
Yo, Blood
Yeah,
Diner.
yeah. So
The
yeah,
friggin'
you pretty much
Kung,
know what you're getting in for with this one.
the Kung Fu dishing, stalactite killing.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good little creature feature, man.
That
The
movie was batshit.
the creature, honestly, in this movie, the creature looks really, really creepy. Like really creepy. I don't know what they did to get it to look like that, but man, is it unsettling to look at. Especially like when you actually get really good shots of it, and it makes your skin crawl. It's really creepy. It's like a cyclops. It's only got one eye, and ugh, it's it's just really, really off-putting. But for the budget and what they were able to do, it looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Martin Landau is great in it, like he is in everything. He's he's just a man. You got another reminds me of Slithus a lot with the stock wooden kind of basic character that you follow, the protagonist. Which the guy that actually played the protagonist was actually married to Jackie Kong, the director. So yeah, so you got her husband to play or to be the lead in this film. But
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was the director of Blood Diner.
yep, Blood Hunter. Like I said, not the best actor in the world. Like definitely kind of wooden, but still you have fun with the premise. It's a small town kind of premise where, there's a creature attacking people in a small town and the main character is trying to get to the bottom of what's going on and what's causing the creature to mutate and turn into what it is. And it's there's actually a good movie to watch on Easter because it takes place on Easter. So not a lot of Easter horror films. So this is one you can throw in around Easter time. And there's a a funny scene where it's just cute really because it had to do with a little like they're doing an Easter egg hunt and this little like baby is like trying to get these eggs and every time she goes to grab one of the eggs somebody snatches it from her. So it's like it's just a cute little moment, but yeah, it's a good little watch, man. I gave this one a 3 stars too. Same with it. To be honest with you, if you want a good little double feature, pair this one and this one together. It's not bad. Um, but yeah, that's what I checked out. Honorable mentions wise, what I bring to the table. Oh, I do have one more, Corey. Can you timestamp it real quick? Because I got to get it. I forgot to grab it. I'm gonna
Okay.
pull it myself real quick if I can find it. There it is. All right, I got it. Oh, all right. Last one up. I did check this out. I had to go back on Letterboxd to see if I actually watched it for the month because I feel like I lost track of when I saw it. But if you look at this cover right here, what does that scream to you? It's called The Beast Within.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah, exactly. You would think it's like a werewolf film, right?
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like what was that? Jonah Hill.
Look like Jonah Hill in the movie, that's for sure. But yeah, I watched The Beast Within. I revisited this. This is one I check out every once in a while. It's another film I go to. It's a fun little watch.
1982.
Yep, 1982. And so we follow our character Michael, who is a newlywed couple that was pulled. They pulled off. They had
These
car trouble.
screenshots.
Yeah, it's a blast, dude. It's a fun little movie. Um, it's not a werewolf film though. I don't want to spoil what it is, what he actually turns into, but it's nothing you would expect. Let's just say that.
Hmm.
It's actually quite surprising. When I first saw it, I was completely like convinced that it was going to be a werewolf film, and I'm like, and you keep seeing his progression, and you hear these sounds, and you're like, well, that sounds like this, but that doesn't make any sense. And then when you get to the end of it and you find out what creature he's turning into, it's like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming at all. Had no idea they were going to go that route. So, um, it's another regional horror film. Takes place in a small town. Um, there's something going wrong with this kid. He's mutating, or he's having health problems. His parents aren't sure what's going on with him, so they send him to a doctor in this small little town to kind of figure out his origins, because we find out that he was a product of a rape that happened years ago when a newlywed couple broke down on the side of the road, and the husband went to go get help from a tow truck, and the wife stayed there. She was attacked. We find out that the father of this boy named Michael actually was a creature of sorts. So I don't really want to spoil what creature it is because it's really actually surprising. But this is another film I had an absolute blast with.
Cool.
Like I said, I go back and watch it regularly. It's one of those films I watch it at least once a year, um, and enjoy it every time. It's got Ronnie Cox in it. Ronnie Cox plays one of the best bad guys in cinema history. He's always a good bad guy, but in this movie, he's actually a good guy. So he gets a little he's in RoboCop. He's in Total Recall. He's the bad guy. The he's in he actually plays a good guy in uh, Beverly Hills Cop. He's lieutenant in California where Axel Foley goes. He's actually the lieutenant, but he's just a great actor. He's phenomenal. He's in this quite a bit, and it's a blast. I gave it a 4-star or 4-star rating out of 5 on Letterboxd. And then one more I did watch, which this I saved the best premise for last, honestly. A movie called The Suckling, which I saw it on Tubi. I have the Blu-ray, but I don't have the Blu-ray at my house with me. So I watched it on Tubi because it's on there. And so I'll just give you guys the premise. Um, this high school, well, they're college kids. They go to a back alley abortion house to have an abortion, and the baby is aborted, or the fetus is aborted. It gets flushed down the toilet into a toxic waste sewer, and the fetus grows into a monster and attacks the people in the abortion clinic. It's
What the fuck?
it is a crazy, crazy movie. It's really something you have to see to believe. One of the coolest creatures you'll ever see. It's extremely low budget, but what they were able to do with the creature design is impressive for the budget. It
What's it
really is.
called?
It's called The Suckling.
The Suckling.
The Suckling. Yeah. Um, I basically that's what it is. It's a creature getting revenge on the people that abort babies. It's so random. It's such a random premise, an odd title. I know Vinegar Syndrome put out a Blu-ray, and it's one of those films that I didn't know a thing about when I picked it up. I was like, oh, cool, a new film that Vinegar Syndrome picked up. They always find these like diamonds in the rough to put out, and they give these really great special edition treatments for movies that really don't deserve it, but they give it to them anyway. So I was like, oh, this has got to be a like a like a little oddity, and it certainly was, dude. It was very, very odd. It's got a tone and a atmosphere to it, which you wouldn't expect in a movie that takes place in an abortion clinic. It's not even really a
Jesus.
clinic. It's just like some house that this.
It looks like a fucking trailer from the 80s.
Yeah, dude. And it actually came out in the 90s, so lo and behold, this and There's Nothing Out There. There's some decent creature features coming out in the 90s. I think they both came out in '90, so they
Hmm.
they kind of have the feel of an '80s film too because they came out so late in the '80s. So
You know what the alternate title is for the suckling?
what is it?
The sewage baby.
Pretty much what he is. That's pretty much what he is. It's a fetus that gets transformed through toxic waste in a sewer, and it
Wow.
grows and it kills.
Damn, that is a cool looking creature though.
Oh, it's amazing looking. I couldn't believe they were able to get it to look like that with the budget. It's really impressive, honestly. Some good
Wow.
gore, some shitty characters that basically get what they got coming to them. I mean,
Mm.
it's fun. It's a fun time. I gave it I know this is where I say, you can't take my ratings grain of salt. Like I gave it a 4 star. It's a bad movie, but I had so much fun with it.
Mm.
So, 4 star. I didn't care.
Unabashed
I
four
have
star.
fun with it. So yeah, it got a 4 star for me. The creature is one of the coolest you'll ever see. It really looks cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I said, guys, I was gonna go ham on this roulette episode with some honorable mentions. So I watched quite a few creature features for this one, and I had a blast with it, man. Like Frosty said, I'm kind of part of me's kind of bummed out that it's gonna end because I had so much fun watching and discovering creature features, and it's been a good time. This was a fun one.
Well, yeah. For me, honestly, I didn't watch too many. I watched what we needed to do to cover, the films that we were covering. Um, and then I ended up watching Pumpkinhead with Daniel last week. That was fun. Just revisiting that. And it's honestly one that I always revisit. I think I gave it a 5 star rating, and that just boils down to nostalgia for me. It was a film that I grew up watching as a child. Um, I think I got turned on to Pumpkinhead 2 first. I think that was the one that lured me in, but the creature and everything I loved. And that's the one that I honestly revisit quite often. But Pumpkinhead is one of my favorite creatures of all times, and it just comes down to the design and even the storyline. It's like Daniel said, it's very sad and stuff like that. Um, the other film that I watched this month, and I was actually going to save it for the roulette episode as well as a main event for me, but it waits. This was a film that I bought a few years ago. I think it came out in 2004, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
It's on Tubi.
yeah, it's on Tubi. Um, I bought this movie because of the cover art. It looked sick to me. I believe it was an Anchor Bay edition too.
Right, yeah.
And just I didn't like it when I first watched it. And I bought it like years ago when I first started collecting horror. Um, but yeah, I ended up rewatching it for this month, to kind of maybe it'll redeem itself. It didn't.
Real quick.
I, I mean, I like the storyline. I wish that there was things that could have been a little different with the film. But basically, you follow this female character, um, and she's gone through a tragic event in her life where she was basically drinking with a friend of hers, her best friend, and then lo and behold, she basically drove that night, got into a car wreck, and her friend got thrown from the vehicle. Her friend passed away, and everyone kind of assumed that, well, since it was her car, she was drunk, she was thrown from the vehicle. They just assumed that she was the one driving. So she was carrying this burden that she killed her friend, and basically her friend passed away, and the family, thinking that she was this drunk driver, when that wasn't the case at all. Um, so now back to the storyline where she's now become like a forest ranger to kind of get away from society and battle her demons on her own. She's like up in a tower on a mountain, and lo and behold, some college kids blew a hole in a cave and discovered a creature in it, and this creature is basically a female.
It was just sitting there waiting.
Yeah, it was just it was. It was in
Anytime now.
it was in a cave that was blocked off by uh, Indians years prior, and basically they let this creature out, and it was a female demon um, who liked to have fun while she killed. Uh, the overall creature was pretty cool design. I, of course, am not a fan of CGI, so there was a couple scenes that I was like, could have been better. I liked the fact that she toyed around with some of her victims when she killed, because even like at one point, like there's kind of a love story in between the main character and this guy named I believe Justin, and I didn't care for that story at all. Like it really didn't need to be in there, I don't think.
Forceful love story plug.
Yeah, and basically, she kills him. She finds the body. The main character finds the body, and so she buries him on top of the mountain. Until somebody can come and rescue her, and then she can show where the body is. Well, throughout this film, the creature digs up the bodies and places them in the tower just for her to find. And there's like one scene where there's like dead people placed at like a dinner table, and the guy's head is sitting there with an apple in his mouth. Like she does that to her like throughout the film, and it's some funny moments, but overall, I didn't really have too much fun with it. I gave it a 3-star.
It's kind of weird, a weird thing for a creature. That's interesting that they would write that into that. That's
Like I said, she would toy around, but in the end, there was like one scene where she could have killed her and she didn't. Um, and it just comes down to she feeds off of the sadness and the dwelling of the main character. Um, so yeah, so that kind of fed her to make her stronger and stuff like that. The other thing I didn't care about was they made you think that she was afraid of water, so she wouldn't come out when it was raining. Lo and behold, this movie was filmed in I think Vancouver, and pretty much the majority of the time they were filming there, it was raining. So, so in some moments, you were led to believe that this creature was petrified of water, but yet this creature was like coming out in rain and stuff. It was it could have been made a lot better.
Can't postpone production.
Yeah. But
what if the creature thought it was afraid of water? It's like raining, and it's like,
It reminds me of I don't know if you've ever seen it, dude. You ever seen Neon Maniacs?
I've never seen it.
That's another one I was gonna do for the roulette, or that I was thinking about doing. But the basic premise is there's mutated like creatures, and their weakness is water, but they live right next to the San Francisco Bridge, like underneath the bridge. It's like what? Like their weakness is water. It's definitely shown that they are defeated with water, but they're living next to a bridge surrounded by water. I don't understand what they were thinking with that. So that's when you said that, I was like, that kind of reminds me of Neon Maniacs a little bit.
Yeah.
Where
they weren't thinking.
They weren't thinking at all. But that movie's got a lot of production problems and people coming in and out of projects and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that going on. That's an interesting movie to do. And that's a good one where you would want to do a remake on, because you can make it so much better than the original. Because the premise is great. The premise is cool. Like each one of them has their own unique look, and it's really fascinating. But the movie is like really bogged down with really dumb decisions and stuff like that. It's a movie you want to love, but unfortunately, it's just too slow and just too much of a drag. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of when you said that. I was like, damn, that sounds just like the problem that one had.
Yeah, and like I said, the main problem that I had was the CGI of the monster, like the creature. Like even at one point, you see all of a sudden this creature is flying, and it just honestly it reminded me of almost like Jeepers Creepers. That's what it looked like. It looked like the creature from that flying around. So, but overall, the look of the creature was pretty cool. I liked it. But yeah, and the gore was actually pretty decent in the film. So that's kind of why I rated it high. Or well, I gave it a solid 3. But yeah, that was pretty much my honorable mention there.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is our roulette episode on creature features. I don't know about you guys, but this has been a super fun month for me. I've really enjoyed this. By the time you listen to this episode, we will already be preparing and maybe even recording our next series, which will be on slasher films. We're actually doing the summer of slashers. So June, July, and August will be all about slashers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is going to be a fun series. I think, there's a lot of people like slashers. Slashers, there's something about them. They age well. They really, they do stand the test of time. They're so fun to watch, and there's so many iconic slasher characters. Just looking at Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, it's gonna be a fun one. So, if there's nothing else to add, we're gonna go ahead and land this plane. This has been a long episode, but a fun one. Just a quick reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. If you're listening on any podcast outlet, whether it be iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you can listen to podcasts, be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave us a review. That would be awesome. Then, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Monster_Corner. You can follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, Midnight Monster Corner Podcast. Follow us there. TikTok at Midnight Monster 20. And email the show, midnightmonstercorner@gmail.com, for questions, comments. We have been getting a lot of comments from people lately, just encouragement, telling us how good of a job we're doing and all. And, we're trying to put out content. It's hard. We all have families and kids and jobs, and it's busy, but we're going to continue to put content out for you guys. We really enjoy doing this. And as long as there's movies to be watched and you guys want to listen, we'll put them out. Our goal in the future, as mentioned before, is to, find some kind of way to get better podcasting equipment, better cameras, better mics, maybe even have a studio setting, maybe even do movie commentaries. I think that could be a thing we could do. So be on the lookout for that, and just follow us on any numerous social media outlets so we can keep you updated on everything. So, but with all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and close by saying thank you for yet another awesome month of horror, and we'll see you guys next month with the summer of slashers. Later. That's what slashers do. Or maybe that's, I don't know. Later.
Later, guys.